am an appreciative audience where Dvorak's music is concerned. Perhaps I perceive its appeal all too keenly, but even so, I could not remain silent regarding the dangers of his latest tendency. It is with a strange passion that Dvorak now indulges in ugly, unnatural, and ghostly stories. But that's quite enough about Dvorak. Let's hear some Beethoven. Beethoven, who is often bizarre and baroque, takes at times the majestic flight of an eagle and then creeps into rocky pathways. He first fills the soul with sweet melancholy and then shatters it by a mass of barbarous chords. He seems to harbor together both doves and crocodiles. Beethoven's compositions more and more assume the character of studied eccentricity. He does not write much, but most of what he produces is so impenetrably obscure in design and so full of unaccountable and often repulsive harmonies that he puzzles the critic as much as he perplexes the performer. Beethoven mystifies his passages by a new treatment of the resolution of discords, which can only be described in words by the term resolution by omission, or the leaving out of the chord upon which the discordant notes should descend. Many of his passages also appear confused and unintelligible, rendered so by a singular freedom in the use of diatonic discords or discords of transition. Many instances appear of passages by contrary motion, each carrying their harmonies with them. I must admit, after having looked through Beethoven's strange sonatas for piano and violin, overladen with difficulties, that after diligent and strenuous labor, I felt like a man who had hoped to make a promenade with a friend through a tempting forest and found myself instead barred every minute by impertinent barriers, returning at home at last exhausted and without having had any pleasure. It is undeniable that Herr Beethoven goes at his own gait, but what a bizarre and singular gait it is. Learned, and always learned, and nothing natural, no song. Yes, to be accurate, there is only a mass of learning here, without good method, obstinacy for which we feel but little interest, a striving for strange modulations, an objection to customary associations, and a heaping up of difficulties till one loses all patience and enjoyment. Please don't. After the weary, dreary hours spent in listening to the works of Brahms, I am lost in wonder at the amount of devotion accorded him and the floods of enthusiasm with which he is overwhelmed. I endeavor to comfort myself with the thought that even though Brahms gives nothing in the way of beautiful themes, lovely harmonies, or refreshing modulations, his example in preserving those musical forms which Wagner sought to destroy might stimulate other composers to enliven the old symphonic molds with melodies of beauty and grace. But no. What do we see instead? Mistaking Brahms' unbeauty for a new line of thought, his followers amuse themselves with seeking in what a variety of means they too can twist and torture a series of commonplace tones and chords. that I'm not the only one to think this way. Listen to the words of some of his contemporaries. This is from the wonderful composer Tchaikovsky's diary. I played over the music of that scoundrel Brahms. What a giftless bastard. It annoys me that this self-inflated mediocrity is hailed as a genius. Why, in comparison with him, Raff is a giant, not to speak of Rubinstein, who is, after all, a living and important human being, while Brahms is chaotic and absolutely empty, dried up stuff. German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "The sympathy that Brahms undeniably inspires now and then was for a long time a puzzle to me, until I finally, almost by accident, realized that he impresses one definite type of person. He has the melancholy of impotence." The Austrian-Slovenian master of composition remarked, "To write down to print, to have performed anything like the new cello sonata by Herr Dr. Johannes Brahms and not to be infected by this madness is no longer a trifle, and upon my heart I am beginning to acquire respect for myself." What then is nowadays music? Harmony, melody, rhythm, meaning, form. When this rambling commotion seriously pretends to be regarded as music, if Herr Dr. Johannes Brahms intends to mystify his admirers with this newest work, if he wants to make fun of their brainless adoration, then it is of course something else, and we would marvel at Herr Brahms as the greatest bluffer of this century and of all future millennia.
Do you still celebrate your birthday?
I try to forget.
J'ai vu une tonne de lapins, Joe.
Ça c'est du caravane.
Je préfère pas regarder quand on regarde pas.
Arte 1 documenta. Toda terça e toda quinta, 11 da noite.
Parabéns, Arte 1. O Arte 1 tá sempre me ensinando e provando, olha que doido, que a arte é a educação mais potente que tem. Arte 1, minha mestra, meu canal, professor.
Arte 1 na dança. Toda quarta, 10h30 da noite.
Frédéric Chopin has, by some means or the other which we cannot divine, obtained an enormous reputation too often refused to composers who possess several times his genius. Mr. Chopin is by no means a composer of the ordinary, he is worse. He is a dealer in the most absurd and exaggerated extravagances. The entire works of Chopin present a diverse surface of ranting exaggeration and excruciating cacophony. He is not better than Johann Strauss or any other waltz composer. Of course, there is an excuse at present for Chopin's delinquencies. He is entangled in the enthralling bonds of that arch enchantress, George Sand, celebrated equally for the number and excellence of her romances and her lovers. We wonder how she, however, can be content to idle away her dreamlike existence with an artistical non-entity like Chopin. Mr. Chopin increasingly produces the crudest modulations. Cunning must be the connoisseur, indeed, who, while listening to his music, can form the slightest idea when wrong notes are played, its difficulties to the eye being doubled by the composer's eccentricity of notation. Wildness of both the melody and harmony of Chopin is, for the most part, excessive. We cannot imagine any musician who has not acquired an unhealthy taste for noise and scrambling and dissonance to feel otherwise than dissatisfied with the grand waltz. In search of ear-rending dissonances, torturous transitions, sharp modulations, repulsive contortions of melody and rhythm, Chopin is altogether a master. All that one can come upon is here brought forward to produce the effect of bizarre originality, especially the strangest tonalities, the most unnatural chord positions, the most absurd combinations in fingering. But it is not really worth the trouble to hold such long speeches for the sake of the perverse mazurkas of Herr Chopin. Had he submitted this music to a teacher, the teacher, it is to be hoped, would have torn it up and thrown it at his feet. And this is what I symbolically wish to do. There is often a feeling with the music of Guy Cancelli, the Georgian composer, that one is listening to a film score without the film. His latest work is a case in point. Passages have the browsier allure of something written for a shampoo commercial. Now, whatever the undisclosed meaning of the piece, its apparatus has the manner of programmatic work rather than something self-generating. As a purely musical entity, it spins out its meager material way beyond any inherent potential. It pains me to say it, but too many nights with the BBC Symphony Orchestra are starting to resemble less a creative happening than a meeting of a local Rotary Club. Players await their maestro by amiably gossiping. The faithful watchers sit in scattered clumps. You sometimes wonder why more haven't brought their knitting. If I had stitched my own red sweater during the performance of Gia Cancelli's Broken Chant, it would have brought more color to the hall than the Georgian composer managed to do in 25 tedious minutes. Why did the BBC commission this piece? Ignoring better, younger, and British composers in the process. A song almost begins. We hear the plink, plonk accompaniment, but it stops. And what fills the blank is a big, fat nothing. The overall effect, it's like being trapped in the toilet of a famous museum. Lots of things to see out there if only someone would open the door. Alexei Igudisman, the great, so-called mastermind of this piece, What can I say? Perhaps I could give you some examples of what some people have written about him on the internet. Some comments about one of his special Mozart arrangements are, quote, "Mozart must be turning in his grave," end quote. "What a douche. Ruined a beautiful song," end quote. Or simply, "This sucks." Some other videos also have wonderful, colorful posts. Steve Burton writes, quote, "Garbage." Richard Waltz, quote, "Horrible, what a waste of time and space." Or the very quaint Lorenzo de Nardin Boudot wrote, "What the?" I think perhaps personally that a show focused more intently on the music would be less disorganized and confusing. The audience went wild at the end, and they proceeded to play 3 encores, which were 3 too many for my taste.
I actually wrote a little response to your review of my concert. Mm-hmm. May I read it to you? Mm-hmm. I am sitting in the smallest room of my house, and I have your review in front of me. Soon it will be behind me.
o circo tem essa coisa de salvar você de você mesmo.
Circo, pra mim, é magia, é o início de tudo, é a parte divertida.
Então o circo salva a vida.
Protagonistas Invisíveis. Quarta, 20h30 da noite.
Ai, não sei o que falta mais a gente dançar.
How did we end up here in this dump? You were a movie star, remember?
Met Debussy the other night and was struck by the unique ugliness of the man. His face is flat, the top of his head is flat, his eyes are prominent, the expression veiled and somber, and altogether with his long hair, unkempt beard, uncivilized clothing, and soft hat, he looked more like a Bohemian or a Croat, a Hun than a Gaul. His high, prominent cheekbones lend a Mongolian aspect to his face. Rémy de Gourmont has written of the disassociation of ideas. Debussy puts this theory into practice, for in his peculiar idiom, there seems to be no normal sequence. The form itself is decomposed. Tonalities are vague, even violently unnatural to unaccustomed ears. If the Western world ever adopted Eastern tonalities, Claude Debussy would be the one composer who would manage its system with its quarter tones and split quarters. Again, I see his curious asymmetrical face, the pointed fawn ears, the projecting cheekbones. The man is a ghost from the East. His music was heard long ago in the hill temples of Borneo, was made as a symphony to welcome the headhunters with their ghastly spoils of war. Rhythm, melody, tonality, these are three things unknown to Monsieur Debussy and deliberately refused by him. His music is vague, floating, without color and without shape, without movement and without life. The music of Debussy has the attractiveness of a pretty tubercular maiden, with her languorous glances, sick jesters whose perversity has the charm of one marked for death. Music is an organism. A Debussyan organism reminds me of a jellyfish. It is no longer composition. It is decomposition. An affectation of originality, a superficial knowledge of the art, an absence of true expression, and an unfortunate disdain of form have characterized every work of Robert Schumann, hitherto introduced in his country. Dr. Schumann is not possessed of that musical organization without which all the talent and ingenuity in the world avail nothing. He produces by some mysterious rule of his own, but nothing he does springs naturally from the heart. For years, Schumann reigned a high authority on musical matters, being a music critic himself, but in an evil hour, he fancied that he himself could compose and began, as he imagined, to exemplify his doctrines of taste by music of his own. Finding he could not follow in the path of the really great masters, he determined to strike out a new one for himself, which he affected accordingly in a totally opposite direction. Dr. Schumann was hailed as an apostle of a new school and became the prophet of a certain clique. The new preacher, nevertheless, did not have many disciples, and Schumann was soon compelled to abdicate in favor of another apostle who brought with him greater eloquence, subtlety, and daring, but with an equal contempt for precedence. The old was deserted for the new. Schumann was dethroned, and Richard Wagner sat in his place. Such is a brief outline of Schumann's career. The mental institutions at Dusseldorf will tell the sequel.
Parte 1, toda quarta e toda sexta, 11 da noite.
Wie heißt Ihre Frau nochmal? Der Name Ihrer Frau? Sie werden doch wohl nicht den Namen Ihrer Frau vergessen haben. Sie kommt fast täglich vorbei und fragt nach Ihnen.
Em Trânsito, de Christian Petzold. Quarta, 11 da noite.
Seu swing é divino e tá na pele.
You give me second class houses, second class schools.
Acabou o horário, ficou tudo lindo.
If you want the things you love, there must be shower.
Meu peito não é silicone. Tô mais macho que muito homem.
Arte 1, 10 anos. O canal de todas as artes.
Just a second, if I may, I'd like to read you a review that you wrote about one of my own recordings. Mm-hmm. Yes, you actually reviewed my recording of the Rachmaninoff piano concertos. I quote, "Jew's reading operates at too low a voltage. He lacks the sort of angst and urgency that has endeared Rachmaninoff to millions. I think you'll agree that this is hardly a case of how great things are done when men and mountains meet." That's William Blake, by the way. Couldn't you come up with something original?
Let's just say I was not entirely convinced by your interpretation.
Well, let's keep that in mind, shall we? Because, do you remember Joyce Hatto?
Joyce Hatto? Pianist? No.
Yes, for the benefit of everyone, Joyce Hatto was a British pianist who stole other people's recordings and passed them off as her own. It was a massive hoax. One of the recordings she stole was my recording of the Rachmaninoff piano concertos. Let's see what you had to say about exactly the same recording under her name. I quote, "Joyce Hatto's performance of the Rachmaninoff is among the finest on record. The opening theme is given with a special sense of its Slavic melancholy. Above all, everything is vitally alive and freshly considered. The concentration is always on purely musical values, reminding you at every point of qualities above and beyond mere flamboyance." You know what this makes me think of? What do music critics and gynecologists have in common? They're both looking for problems where others are looking for pleasure.
I'm sorry, sir. Never mind him. I just have to say I thoroughly enjoyed your review from my last concert in London.
From the last one, because I've reviewed several. This was the last one?
It's funny you ask, because this particular concert was different from the usual concerts, mainly because I wasn't there. Well, you see, I fell ill and I had to be replaced. But clearly, you were not there either. Otherwise, you would have not written about the Dvorak, but about the Brahms violin concerto, which was played instead. And I'm not entirely sure that the female violinist who replaced me was too happy about your comments about her boyish, unshaven look. I found a review about one of your performances you did in Turkey, in Istanbul. And I took the liberty to set it to music. May I ask you to have a look and read it for us? Please.
After seeing the John Malkovich Torment at the theater in Istanbul, it is unfortunately too late to ask to have him deported, since he already packed his bags and set off traveling around different towns every day, hiding behind being John Malkovich. I deplore not to give a Turkish visa to this actor anymore. Do not let Malkovich pass the borders of Turkey with such a bad play again. His career and make him study modern theater once more. Audition him at the airport and only then give him a visa. In the recent years, there has not been one respectable theater production this overestimated Malkovich has been in. He is clearly not like Al Pacino and Philip Seymour Hoffman, who appeared in serious Shakespeare productions. He simply grabs his suitcase, travels around from town to town, hiding behind the name Malkovich. If parts of his performance were shown on the internet before the show, the responsible theater authorities would have to quit. Did the respectful people at the festival's consultation board ever watch this disgrace before deciding it to be deemed worthy of the Turkish people? For God's sake. John Malkovich should stop coming by with plays he never even bothers to learn. Thinking of Turkey as a third world country? If Istanbul Foundation for Culture and the Arts cannot deal with this situation, there should be the most difficult conditions for the artist to receive a visa. These people should not be allowed into Istanbul. And should be sent home from the border the hall applauded politely and went home with their dreams stolen. In a primitive play, Malkovich read the text in a slovenly manner. When I watched this torment that was deemed worthy of our public, I wanted to boo! To shout. And to rebel.
Ladies and gentlemen, and now, Bach. Thank you, one person. It's my mother.
Planning for Belgrade?
Yeah, we were gonna do it there.
Bach was a very religious composer, okay? I mean, he had 20 children. So could you play it a little more religiously? I mean, but with a sense of the sacred meaning. Just try it. Just try it.
Trying to be more religious. That's why I'm...
No, you don't need to be more religious. You need to play it more religiously. Okay? Big difference. Kind of. Okay, so let's start again. That's better. That's good. Really flow like water. One, then the other, one, then the other. Very good. Now imagine up in the sky. Who's up in the sky? Pope Francis. But He's up in the sky, but he's not coughing. He doesn't have a cold. He's up in the sky. And where is he from? Where is he from? You see? So just imagine, right? So you're up in the sky, but you look down and there's the sea, the sun and the sea. You dive, and then suddenly you're in the water. You're swimming towards the shore. You arrive, and there's a beautiful girl, and she takes your hand and takes you to a tango bar in Argentina. See? That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, and now, Mozart.
I think we played so much in a minor key tonight. I think we should brighten it up considerably. How about A major?
Yeah, well, this is Mozart alla Turca in A minor. So,
yeah, he's Austrian. He's not Turkish. Try it in A major. Okay, see, to me that's much better. But
now
really,
now it sounds more Austrian.
It still, though, needs to be it needs more of a twist, a little more ethnic, more Oriental, Turkish, Arab, Jewish, Chinese. You know, like the ping pong, yin yang, Qingdao.
I don't quite get what you want us to do.
May I hear your B? Please. Yeah, see, that's what it is.
No, but she thinks it's the German B, so...
That's a B flat.
Okay, a German B in Austrian, a Turkish song. Okay, listen, do it in A major, but as if the B is B flat. Okay?
Why?
Because I think it'll be great. You'll see.
Yeah, but how? I mean...
You're so uptight about this. You know what I think we have to do tonight?
What?
We have to open your chakra. Okay? Yeah, really, all 7. Let's stand up. Let's stand up, please. Everybody up, please. Up, please. Okay, you're up. Get a nice, slightly wider position. Your legs just outside your shoulders. A little bit of bend to your knees. Open your mouth as wide as you can. Now stick out your tongue. Roll it down. Go. B flat.
flat, man. B flat.
Oh,
B
sorry.
flat.
B flat.
Fazem parte de uma retrospectiva da carreira do cearense Sérvulo Esmeraldo. Com curadoria de Marcos de Lontra Costa e Dodora Guimarães Esmeraldo, a mostra ressalta o olhar geométrico com que o